Welcome to the Tournament Poker Edge podcast, brought to you by TournamentPokerEdge.com, the only podcast dedicated exclusively to poker tournament strategy. Now here's your host, Clayton Fletcher.
Hello once again, everybody, and welcome to the Tournament Poker Edge podcast. I'm your host, Clayton Fletcher, here in Las Vegas, Nevada, and I'm not alone. I am at the TPE house with the two guys that are most associated with TPE. As from the beginning of time, we've got the one and only Derek Tenbush.
I'm here.
Killingbird's in the house. I'm so happy to finally meeting him in person for the first time. Yeah. And that's not all. We also have the very hungover Mark Aliotto.
Truth. Craps till 5 a.m. We'll do that to you.
Yeah.
It's one of the downsides of Vegas.
This is a different experience. All of us actually being in the same location at the same time.
This is cool.
Not having to use Skype. Instead, we're talking into this little microphone thing, which I really hope is working. So, yeah, it's like the 5th day of the World Series of Poker or something like that. How's it going for you guys so far?
Things have been really good. Been here, I guess, a week, roughly. Haven't played as much poker. Well, as I mentioned on the podcast with you last time I was on, I didn't come out with a schedule or anything, or even a plan. I was just going to come out and play when I felt like playing. I probably played less than I thought I would, but I played 3 birds. But we also had the TPE party to do, so that basically eliminates 2 days out of the week because you can't play that day, and you certainly can't play the day after. Yeah. And so that was a blast, and things have been good. It's always so much fun to get out here, not just for the poker, which we've talked about a lot, how great this series is and how it's poker summer camp, and the greatest month of the year and all that, but also just catching up with old friends. You know, like Mark's one of my best buddies, and we see each other like once or twice a year, maybe. So, so it's been great. So
I was unable to attend the TPE meetup. Mark, how was it?
It was a blast.
Yeah?
Blast.
I heard it was a good turnout.
I think we did like 30 to 40, maybe
That's
40
incredible.
on top. Yeah. PTs didn't have shuffleboard, which kind of sucked, but
we
drank a lot, talked some hands. It was a good time. Again, just meeting a bunch of people I haven't seen in a while. It was good. For me, only played the online event. Might play a win or the Millie Maker this week, but the online event I want to talk about because you both played it as well.
Yeah, we all three played the $400 event number 7, I think it was. The online, one of the online bracelet events. They have a bunch of them this year that actually you can play if you're in New Jersey or Nevada, which is kind of cool. We were in Nevada. I got like 600th.
I was right there too.
Yeah,
it was we talked a little bit earlier. It was one of the softest tournaments I've ever played in my life. And for a 400 to be that soft is just like, you need to be playing these tournaments. Like, it's almost a must to come out here. Even if you just played the online event, like, would be worth your time.
Yeah, I was surprised at the play. So you and I didn't cash, but Derek did.
I did. I had a nice run. Well, what I thought was a pretty nice run. I ended up finishing 69th, I think.
That's fantastic.
We made some jokes.
Almost 2,000 players.
Yeah, and it was
100. What was it? 165,000 up top.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you guys.
It
was crazy how soft it was. As it got deeper, certainly there were a couple of tough spots at some of my tables, but I mean, early on, it was just like punt city. Like people were just, I guess because of that 3 re-entry thing, man, people were just they were going for it, and I basically just sat back and like retrieved punts.
Yes, punt returner.
And then Helmuth too. Final tabling. What do you take? 5th?
Yeah, I think 5th.
That's just insane. Like, he's tweeting out, like, I don't care where my 16th bracelet comes. I'll take it online. So good for him.
And he's, like, never played online. Even though he was the face of Ultimate Bet or whatever back in the day. Yeah. He's just never been an online player at all. So it's kind of cool that he got 5th or whatever it was. A lot of stuff has been going on. We've only been here, like, less than a week. And a lot of stuff has been going on. People are getting touched under the table.
Oh, wait.
People are throwing in the wrong chip.
So I know the whole story about that if you want to talk about that.
All right, let's do that one first then.
Yeah, because I know everything about that.
Set the stage.
Well, no, you go ahead and set the stage. Because I just spoke to someone who backs the guy in the picture. Go ahead, walk him through the story, and I'll tell you everything.
Actually, maybe Derek, you should do this, because this is something I didn't even know about until we got here.
Yeah, so basically, Was it in the shootout?
It was a sit and go.
Oh, it was a sit and go. So sit and go ends. Kitty
Who has I love her Twitter. It's funny.
Yeah, she has a big following on Twitter, which makes this kind of worse, this story. She gets knocked out, and then she immediately tweets out something about being like inappropriately touched by the person who knocked her out.
It was a picture of the guy who knocked her out. They actually played head up.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the story. Basically what happened, it was another gentleman, and this guy was touching her, but not the guy she took the picture of. She wanted to chop with the gentleman who was actually staked by one of my really good buddies, and I just spoke to him like a couple hours ago. It's just like breaking news.
I love it.
And he's like, no, I don't want to chop. The guy plays head up, sit, and goes for a living, so he's not going to chop with anyone here. Beats her, and then immediately an hour later, that picture comes up.
And so it's...
Hey.
So, yeah. It's pretty messed up. And I loved her Twitter, too, but and then so she ended up apologizing, being like, oh, it wasn't that guy in the picture.
So
it was
just to
another
clarify,
gentleman.
she was molested under the table by someone.
It was, yeah.
But not the guy that won.
And not the guy that she took the picture of and posted on Twitter.
So she posted a picture of somebody who didn't touch her.
Who knocked her out, head up, one chop with her.
Right, and then she deleted the tweet?
Deleted the tweet, withdrew her statement.
Yeah. And said it was a different guy or something.
Right.
It's weird.
That's weird. Like, if somebody's, being inappropriate, you should definitely call people's attention to it. Sure. And I don't think that, as male poker players, we shouldn't be putting our hands on the female poker players without permission.
Right.
Certainly.
Sure.
Or even the male poker players. I don't want to be touched either. But I think if you're going to kind of publicly shame someone, you might want to make sure you're shaming the right person.
Yeah, not the guy that just beat you head up that wouldn't chop with you. I mean, it was super fishy, and like I said, she did get touched. So weird.
Yeah,
weird.
That's weird. So that's one thing that's been going on. Another thing that's been happening is people are throwing in their time continuation chip in the super high roller bowl, and then somebody's acting like they thought it was a call, but it was really just a time continuation chip. So you guys have been watching the video. Tell me who the players are. Tell me what happened.
I don't know if I remember any of the players' names. Well, it was Lucky Chewy.
Lucky Chewy was at the table. Yeah, I don't know their names either.
Okay.
They're really well-known high roller
guys. Yeah. Okay, so what happens is somebody, they have these little chips that are called time extensions. So you have a time limit in that tournament so that you don't tank forever on every decision. I think all tournaments should have those, but that's a story for another day.
Agreed.
So they throw it in. It looks like kind of like a regular chip, but it's clearly a different color. It's a different type of chip. So he throws it in to indicate to the dealer, I'm going to need more time to make my decision.
So the way he throws it in, I will say, he does slide it.
He slides it in.
Slides it in. I think it was backhand.
He did it with his thumb, remember? He did
Yeah.
I fold like that sometimes. Like, he takes his thumb,
right,
places it on top of the thing, and
the thumb
flicks it in.
Yeah.
So what happens first, though, we need to say, gentleman opens, Jack 9.
Right.
All in. And then now it's on, I forget who it is. It's on another player to act, and Jack 9's behind him. Right. So he flicks in. Go ahead. You can finish it now. The time card in.
Yeah. And then the next player,
the original opener who had Jack 9 suited, who's close in chips to the guy third and fourth. And ICM jumping, this is huge. I mean,
right. So
real
it's
money,
it's
big boy money.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars of equity
Yeah.
at stake here. And now that guy, the player that is thrown in the time extension chip has not made a decision yet about the hand.
Right.
But the next player throws his cards away, out of turn.
The original opener, which is obviously it makes it a lot easier because the gentleman who had ace queen, who was tanking the call, when he knows that the guy who initially opened is gone, that makes your decision so much easier. Right. Because especially with those jumps, ace queen, and I said ace queen, he was probably always going to call, but if you had ace jack or something, it's a really tough spot with a gentleman behind you, four-handed, when you're talking hundreds of thousands in jumps.
Yeah. And now this is an uproar on Twitter over this, where most of the opinions that I've read seem to be on the side of this guy has done stuff like this before. In a sense, it's an angle. If you throw your cards away and it's not your turn, and you're basically like helping somebody else make the decision you want that person to make anyway, that is an angle, right? Now, if he honestly thought that it was a call, then it's not an angle. It's just an honest mistake. But because the gentleman has a reputation for being an angle shooter.
I didn't read anything about that, but I figured when Ike Haxton and Dan Smith were talking about it, remember I told you, I was like, like if they're going to say
they
like,
don't jump
this is
in,
scummy, they're not jumping in unless it's scummy.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I stood. Like, it looked very, his shocked response looked very legitimate. Whatever, like it looked like a mistake to me.
And the sliding of the thing like a fold.
The way it worked was perfect. Or the way it happened was very believable.
You could see why he made the mistake,
right?
But then you hear this stuff, you're like, and his immediate reaction is, nobody can see my face. He goes, like,
a very surprised face.
Yeah. Which it kind of looked like he was acting. I mean, you should watch. We'll watch it after.
And I'll put a link on the website where the podcast is posted. I'll put a link to the YouTube video of it happening. So if anyone wants to see it, just go over to TP and click on this podcast episode, and you'll see the link to it.
Yeah, I haven't actually gotten a chance to watch it, because I've been out there crushing.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Day twoing.
I made day two.
You have made stacks and everything.
I played 4 tournaments and I built a big stack in all of them. That doesn't mean that I cashed in all of them. I actually haven't cashed in anything yet. But at the time we're recording this podcast, which is June 6th, I'm preparing to play day 2 of the $3 million guaranteed tournament at Venetian tomorrow. And it would be really nice to run deep in that one.
Start the summer off with a little binky bank.
That's a sick guarantee.
Yeah. I used to play
and they crushed it. I mean, I think for first place is going to be about $1 million. So
that's cool.
Yeah, so
that's awesome.
I mean, I have work to do. There's some really big stacks already, but I'm in a good position to try to run it up.
Yeah. How many BBs are you going into day 2 with?
Let's see. I have 114,000, and the average is about 160,000. I think it's going to be 2,000, 4,000.
Oh, super.
Yeah, so it's not like I have to just
under 30.
Pray. Yeah,
it's a good stack to spin.
And it's hour-long levels, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, your money.
Yeah. Perfect. So we'll see. So wish me luck. By the time many people listen to this, I guess I'll be playing that. Right? This will come out tomorrow.
You'll be at the final table.
Yeah. I like the way you think, Mark. So what else has been going on, like news-wise?
Twitter is first. Can I just say, Twitter is pretty great in the summertime.
Yeah,
like with the World Series, just and I am on Twitter all day, just like, oh, what's the gossip today?
Right. It's just like you wake up and you open it up to see who did something stupid or whatever. I mean, there was apparently some sort of Matt Stout, Maurice Hawkins confrontation.
Okay.
Somebody said it got physical. I don't know if that's true.
No. Friend of the podcast, Matt Stout.
And that's part of the problem.
If he gets mad at someone, it's usually for the right reason. So I will say that. But I don't know. And Maurice Hawkins has.
We know he's a chirper.
Yeah, he's a chirper. Yeah. And Matt may not like chirpers.
Maurice tends to rub a lot of people the wrong way. Yeah. That's probably the understatement of the decade.
It's part of his edge, too, at the table is his chirpiness.
So, And I think it's important to say, too, like, in all the things we talk about, like that happen on Twitter, like, we don't know much. Like, we're just commenting on what we're seeing. But
the Kitty Coo story we know.
Well, that's true. That's true.
But yeah, this one, it literally was a tweet like that, and then I tried to dig into it. I didn't want to text Matt or anything like, hey. But
did anybody get punched?
I did. I texted him already. He hasn't responded yet. But, Matt and I are friends. I texted him, have you been fighting people? So maybe while we're recording, he'll respond. But so far, he hasn't.
Then today, also the 5K, which had 400 runners, was Maria Ho, Shannon Shore, and Deoxy. What's his real name?
Deoxy. I just call him Deoxy. But
we know him from Twitter as Deoxy. It was a star-studded final table, as you'd expect in a 5K.
Yeah, of course.
And also, I think a European, maybe a Russian gentleman actually played really well. But we watched it on PokerGo, and it was pretty amazing. Pretty good tournament to watch. And go ahead, KB, you want to brag about making money?
So, yeah, we did a little draft of players, and, of course, I just made the perfect pick.
You got first pick, and you picked the guy with the most chips. Fuck you, mean.
But my guy won, shipped the money my way, which all I'm doing is shipping money my way lately, because we went out and played craps last night, and we crushed it. Mark won a lot last night, too.
And you won in bowling, too.
That's right. I won in bowling. I cashed the online event. Life's
10%
just
of
great.
that's great.
Jeez, man, you should be playing more poker.
I know.
You're running that high.
Well, the problem is everything else I've played has been dust.
Well, that's a problem.
I played a random Orleans bird. I played
Deoxy is Daniel Strelitz?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
First
okay.
bracelet.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He played
He's
boss.
a boss. I
Yeah.
played against him before. He's a very, very tough opponent.
It was cool too because none of them have won a bracelet, but all of them have been at like big final tables.
Yeah.
So it was fun to watch.
Yeah, I think he got like third in the LAPC a couple years ago. He's done some other things. Yeah.
He even said it at the end, head up. He's like, dude, I had it every time. He literally had it every time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when he didn't, he hit it by the end.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Like King Deuce King.
It's hard to beat a great player who's running like God.
Yeah.
Right.
And they were relatively deep too, and it didn't last that long. I think they started they both had 6 million, which I think was 60 bigs.
Yeah,
I think it was,
I think
or
it
even
was-
more.
yeah.
I think it was 80 KB. But yeah, it was awesome to watch. Everyone should get Poker Go. If you're interested in what's going on in the World Series, we don't sponsor them, right? They don't sponsor us.
Yeah,
or
we don't
anything.
even have a
Poker Go's
referral
pretty cool.
code.
Yeah,
$10 a month.
it's so cheap. Like
Yeah.
it's well worth money well spent. I've said that a million times on this show.
And one thing I'll say,
And Clayton hosted.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
on there
yeah.
sometimes. Yeah, check me out.
we always talk about how all the many great things that we get to do in Vegas while we're here for the summer. One of my favorites is sitting withering on the couch watching Poker Go or any other poker with friends and like talking through hands.
Playing online is so
Checking out
fun
the
with a bunch of
stream.
people.
Yeah.
Oh, so fun.
It's
Yeah.
like
2 months, 2 million.
Yeah,
I get better
God,
every
favorite
summer.
show.
I always divert back to bad, but after the summer I get good
Yeah.
because you just sit here and talk to like great players about hands and stuff, and it's like if you got $9.99 or whatever it is to spare,
Yeah.
get yourself poker.
Oh, I should mention in that Venetian event, I sat at the same table with our friend Andrew Brokus.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
that's
so
right.
we got to
God,
play
not
together.
fun.
Yeah. Fortunately for me, like we were like across from each other. You know, I don't want to be like on his left. I don't want him on my right.
Yeah.
It was just better. You know,
Yeah.
just better. Like we kind of like he's over there, I'm over here. And he stole my blind once. I stole his blind once. I think that was as far as it got. His new book is out now. You guys need to cop that as soon as possible. Play Optimal Poker.
Yeah, you were saying
And
it's
let's
really
just
good.
be clear, you came up right when you walked in the house, and one of the first things you said was how good the book was.
Yeah, it's so good. I mean, he's a great teacher. He's a really good communicator. He can make things clear that are very hard to explain, and that's a talent.
It is.
That's as much of a talent that he has as being a funny Twitter follow
Yeah.
or being good at poker. Just there are a lot of people who are good at things, but they can't really break it down. Like like you ask Pavarotti, how do you sing so well? He probably can't really explain it.
Right.
Because it's just he's so talented. But Andrew's got that blend of the talent, but also like he's got a teaching background, so he's good at kind of boiling it down to its components. There are things in that book about GTO and how to apply it to real life, and there are concepts that I thought I understood, but I realized from reading the book I had them wrong. And I've been studying poker for like 20 years, so my mind is blown.
Was it just
by
like
that.
wow? Like
Yeah,
wow? Like,
yeah. There's
holy
a few
shit,
moments where I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, cool, yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be my plane ride home book, I think.
Yeah, I definitely recommend it for sure. So the Big 50 was they started this World Series with a splash.
Yeah.
I mean,
See how many runners it got?
28,000.
Oh my god!
The
The reel was
largest,
insane.
the largest live poker tournament in world history,
Yeah.
eclipsing the former record held also by the WSOP, the Colossus from a few years ago. Was in the 23,000 range, I want to say. So they just blew it out of the water. I mean, the fact that they got 28,000 entries to a $500 tournament, absolutely insane. And we played it. It was ridiculous. I mean, the action in that tournament was absolutely out of control.
It's so good for poker too, because a lot of people on Twitter were tweeting about like, oh, the lines and they shouldn't have these small events. A lot of the higher stakes guys, it's like, no. We need this. Like the poker community needs, the economy needs these small tournaments. People fly in, and then what they did good this year too is they have the 600 deep stack right after it.
Right
so
after.
people end up staying a week, play the 500, bust that, play the 600, but it's pretty amazing to get 28,000 to play a card game.
Yeah, well, they're starting exactly, and they're starting to get their story straight. Like like seniors events all happen during the same week. The ladies events are all happening at different places during the same week. And I think that's the way to go. Like this opening week should be, of course you're going to start off with a 50K for the high rollers that don't feel like playing a 500 with 28,000 of their closest friends.
Yeah.
But, you want to have something where if a guy wants to take off work and he's a recreational player, he just wants to come to Vegas and have a good time and play some cards, he can play a 500 here, a 600 there. And they're going to be exciting events.
Yeah.
And, if a few of those...
I mean, the money up top is exciting.
That's so exciting. I mean, there's a $5 million guarantee that was just completely demolished. Not even close.
And what's cool about it, too, this, with the Colossus, I think that was an attempt to kind of do that, get people to come out, rec players and stuff. But the structure was so bad that I talked to so many...
Oh, remember we said we were never playing it.
Yeah, people were like it was a waste of money. Like structure sucked. I was all in by like level 3.
Yeah, it was kind of a hyper turbo.
Your first experience at a World Series shouldn't be that.
Yeah, instead
they changed that.
This was deep. I mean,
50,000 chips is incredible and it was 50-minute blind level.
Right.
They're trying to do a thing. It's the 50th annual World Series of Poker, so it's all 50, 50, 50. Yeah. So, and 50 Cent gets in fights with people too. So he's right on the theme there.
Fofty.
Yeah, Fofty.
So it was great. I mean, I had a great time playing it. People were having fun. It felt a little bit like the tag team or events like that.
Yeah.
Where there were just people coming up to like the table to check on their buddy and seeing how they did, or somebody busts out and comes and tells their friend.
So much of that
creates a
going
buzz.
on. Yeah.
I mean, it creates a buzz. I'm so shocked that like the higher stakes guys don't get that. Like they're so negative about it. I'm like, really? Like,
well, I think a lot of those guys, and we're speaking generally, but I think a lot of those guys don't really think about the big picture. Like, how is this going to affect poker as a business?
Yeah.
They think about, I want for everything to be like for my best interest.
Yeah.
Not realizing this actually is for their best interest.
Absolutely. Most of them own training sites too.
Yeah,
So,
that's
like,
true.
Okay, like this is what you need. These are your people.
Yeah. So who wants to do a hand?
I got a hand.
I know you're the only one with the cash, Derek. So why don't you go first?
Sick brag.
Well, you got a day too.
We'll let him enjoy this while he can.
Just give me this one.
Let him have this one. He's the boss.
Yeah. So this is actually an interesting hand. So this is in the Big 50, and I had a pretty good stack. I got really short early in that tournament. Not really short, but I was down to I think 12.5K at like 200, like 250, 500 maybe, somewhere around 20, 25 bigs, and I worked it back up to like 111K.
Spin.
Yeah, and I was feeling good. It was towards the end of the night. Like I think we were in the second to last level of the evening, so I was like, mistake number one. I was already like planning my bagging. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna bag. I'm gonna go home. I'm gonna get a good night's sleep.
That's such a weird dynamic. Is the bag like you got to look at your table and be like, okay, who's gonna check out this last like 3 orbits, and who's like playing still? Because you'll see people that are hacking their bag, like, thinking in their head like, oh, I have X amount of chips. Like, no, there's still 3 orbits to play. Like,
and it's no limit. Things happen.
Right.
So that's when really we should be accumulating, like open up almost like a bubble. It's sort of a weird bubble.
End of day bubble. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and so this hand comes up where I think I'm going to start to accumulate, and
okay,
we'll get into it. So we start the hand with around 100K. Could have been 102. I didn't count my stack at the time, but it was right around there. And the villain in this hand covers us. I'm under the gun 1. I have ace queen offsuit. I raised a 7K at 2K 3K. That was the actual blind. They had a couple of weird blind levels in this because of the color ups. So they'll take out certain chips so they couldn't do like, it couldn't be 1,500, 3,000 because they colored up the 500. So
wow, that's interesting because you actually probably should be flatting the small blind wider since you're investing more.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, which you're priced in pretty much with any two.
Which this guy's about to do. I wonder if that means I should be sizing up my open instead of
probably.
I shouldn't be opening the 7K. I should be going like 8,500 or something.
Yeah,
even if more in the pot.
Yeah, even if everybody else at your table is opening to 7K, I don't think we should be afraid to make bigger bets if they make sense. You don't deny those pot odds. He's getting good pot odds.
Right.
Typically the small blind is half the size of the big blind, but in this tournament it's not.
2/3. I mean, it's
and there's also the big blind ante, which is as a full table each put in a normal size ante.
Right.
That's a lot of extra chips in there.
Although we have we have ace queen, so it's not like I don't mind I don't mind the small blind coming along and playing a pot in a position against him.
Sure.
So it's not like I'm not trying to steal the blind. So I guess.
I mean, it makes more sense. I mean, you could size it up, but it also makes sense just to be more aggressive in general, just because there's more out there. But it's not that big of a difference where you need to go out of your way. But it's something.
Yeah. So there's 8,000 in the pot. You make it 7,000.
Yeah, I raised to 7K. Small blind calls. Shockingly, big blind folds because he's really getting a good price now.
Yeah,
but I mean, if he has like 8 deuce off, I mean, it's probably just folding.
It's probably fine.
So we go to a flop with 3, 4, 5, like 18, 20, 20K in the middle, somewhere around there.
Yeah, 20ish in there, and you're in position with ace queen.
Yep. The flop is queen 3, 4 rainbow.
Whee!
It's a pretty good flop for her.
Yeah, great flop.
Especially small blind flatting range. I mean,
like
3s and 4s, but some queen X's, pocket pairs. Yeah, I'm happy.
We're pretty stoked.
Yeah, and he checks.
Yep. So, he checks.
He doesn't have any 2 pairs.
Yeah, true.
I mean, would you give him 3-4 suited?
Probably not.
Not with no one else calling first.
Yeah.
If the button had called, I think the small blind might play along with it, like a suited 4-3. But
It's unlikely.
Yeah. We bet 11K, and the villain calls.
11 into 20.
Ish.
It's a little big, but okay.
Yeah.
You guys are deep, so I get it. I'm with it.
The turn is a 4, so now it's queen 3, 4, 4. Great turn for us, I think.
yeah, I mean, it might hit his calling range on the flop a little bit.
Yeah.
If he check called, he check called with something. Actually, in his shoes, many times I'll lead that card, in the middle card pairs, and you're in the small blind because he has more 4s than you do.
Yeah,
But
true.
neither one of you has many.
Yeah.
Right.
And
I'm trying to think of the 4s. Yeah, he has like the ace 4 suited.
Ace 4 suited, maybe
4,
5-4 suited.
4, 5.
Maybe
suited.
5-4. We can give him maybe like half the combo.
Some of
Okay.
those, yeah.
And I should go back and mention that this is a older gentleman. And by the way, I want to qualify when I say that, I'm not being disparaging because I got a little shit on Twitter about saying older gentleman.
Oh, you ageist.
Yeah. And my response on Twitter was when I say my response on Twitter was when I say older, I mean my age.
Right.
I'm 47 at this point, but no, this guy's probably like 55. Never seen him get out of line. Was pretty tight. Not like nit. I wouldn't go so far as calling him a nit, but he was like tag.
Okay. Well, do you think he has any 4s?
I think 4 or 5 suited.
Okay, he does. Okay.
Ace 4 suited too.
Yeah, and ace 4 suited.
Yeah, if he's playing 5-4, he's playing ace 4.
Yeah.
Suited.
So I'd throw those in there.
Okay.
It's a small part of what I would put him on,
Right.
but those seem reasonable. So queen 3, 4, 4. It did not, as I recall, bring in any flush draws. So we can, not that it's huge.
Okay, and how much is in the pot now?
So we had another
42.
42.
And how much behind?
About 60 each.
Okay. All right. So
Maybe 70. You started with 100, right?
Oh yeah.
Around
Okay.
70.
All right. So he checks again.
He checks again.
All right. So I mean, I don't see any reason not to bet.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because what I was thinking at the time was, as soon as he called, I was like, oh great, he can have queen jack,
Yeah.
queen king, queen 10 suited, queen 9 suited, like
Pocket
all those.
9s, pocket 8s.
All the pairs,
Yeah,
all the
and
pairs.
those all may call too.
Yeah.
So let's get money.
Yeah. So
Some straight draws too. Like if we're gonna give him the 4-5, 5-6 is in there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I bet
Ace deuce too. Sorry.
Yeah,
Ace
no
5 stuff
problem.
like that.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Wheels.
So I bet.
He may fold those. Go ahead.
So I bet 18K.
Into 42.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now this feels a little big to me, just because I'm trying to get 3 calls, right?
Right.
So he's going to start worrying about his stack now if he's got like something like pocket 8s, right? Whereas if you entice him with like maybe 13, you go bet 11 once, now you go bet 13, and then you can go for a good size value bet on the river, which everybody calls everything on the river.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I would
think-
size down on the flop.
I
and
think
the
we need
turn.
to think about too is we probably want to shove the river. So what was in the pot? We said 42, and we have
42.
70 back.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can make it really small and have a pot size shove easily.
Yeah.
And you will get called again by the hands Clayton's talking about,
Right.
where we're only going to get 2 streets anyway. Where if you do bet bigger, he's going to fold like 8s more often than if you make it smaller. So when we don't need to size up to jam river, I would always size down when you want to get called by weaker holdings.
Sure.
All right, yeah. So we agree that's a little big. I think 13.
Yeah.
See, yeah, that seems
enough to get it in on the river, which isn't going to take much. So yeah, I'm with it.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. So no,
so
he
yeah,
check
so he-
shoves. No, I'm
so-
just kidding.
yeah.
Wait,
What would you do if he check raised you all in on the turn?
just wait a second,
yeah.
because I have heard the hand.
Oh, you know what's coming.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we bet 18K. He calls.
Okay.
Um,
At that point, you're feeling good, right? You're like,
I feel great because now I'm really thinking, okay, he's, and maybe it's because of my size. I'm like, he's probably gonna have folded his like 7s and 8s and 9s and stuff like that.
Yeah,
at this
certainly.
point. I mean, I opened from early position. I've barreled twice. I've been pretty snug at this table. Like, I've been playing pots, but again, kind of similar to him. Like, I haven't really gotten on the line. I haven't shown any bluffs.
I'm trying to think if I'm against you, if I flatted like 9s or something or 8s, what I'm doing to a double barrel here.
But that big size double barrel on both streets, like half pot both.
Yeah,
streets.
but don't you think usually like bigger sizing is a sign of weakness? Trying to get folded. I don't know.
That's
I
possible.
wouldn't say he's folding all the time. He's definitely more likely to fold to the sizing, but
Yeah, I think he folds most of those pairs.
so do I.
I think a tighter, older player like that could easily have like 10s, and then you might get another call. I don't know why 10s are any different than 9s.
They're not,
I mean,
but they are, you know what I mean?
that's how people
I
perceive
mean,
them.
if
You're
I'm
right.
Yeah.
if I'm saying that him and I seem sort of similar in style, if I'm him, I'm peeling one with all those pairs, and I'm folding
the turn, right? Yeah. Especially when you size up to 18 like
Right.
that. So now I think he's only got queens and hands you can beat. That's it. I mean, because what is he calling with? A draw? Like, what does he have? 6-5?
Pocket
Well-
threes, pocket fours.
Those are hands. I meant to say hands you can't beat.
right.
Yeah.
Queens and hands that you can't beat.
Right.
Yeah. Like the sets.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, so generally,
So we
love
bet 18. You said,
Yeah.
leaves us like 50ish behind.
Yeah, that would
So
be
we
about
missed
right.
around 0.5%. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. All right.
All right, so just to remind the listeners, Queen 3-4-4. The river is a 7, and the villain thinks we're about a second. So essentially, snap jams.
Yeah. So I mean, obviously the 6-5 got there, and the only question to me is, would he represent that hand with any frequency if he didn't actually have it?
Right.
In this tournament, I don't think you're seeing a lot of, I'm just going to bluff shove my whole stack after just check, call, shove.
Right.
You know, to me, it's...
Nothing misses, too. Nothing misses. So, like, I mean, the ace deuce that randomly called a gutter twice, we're
doesn't-
ruling that
yeah,
out.
That doesn't happen.
So the only hand that gets there that he could be bluffing with got there. He still has the full houses. He still has quads. And he doesn't... he's not value jamming... The way you're describing this guy, he's not jamming king, queen here.
Yeah.
In my opinion. I don't know. Like, some guys... Yeah, I don't see that.
I mean, against a lot of opponents, you have to just, make the crying call with ace queen because otherwise you're totally exploitable.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everybody in the world can just start check, call,
You're
shoving.
done- yeah.
And you're going to fold a hand as strong as ace queen here, then you're pretty, exploitable.
Yeah.
But I just don't think that players in this particular tournament, especially with that, job description you gave him, I don't see this guy bluffing, and I think I would fold my hand.
Said the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, when he did it, it may be the first time I've ever verbally reacted to a move at the
God
table.
damn it.
I literally, like, he shoved and I went, whoa. Because I was so ready to value bet the river. Like,
Yeah,
to
for
me,
sure.
like, this is just like the greatest run out of all time. I mean, yeah, 5-6 a little concerning, but I'm just like,
You're thinking you're getting 3 from the queen.
I'm thinking queen jack.
From a worse queen.
I'm thinking queen X. Like,
exactly.
queen
I'm
10,
trying to get queen
Such
jack.
a big.
queen-
Other than the fact that you have a queen, like it's such a big part of a small blind flatting range is all those Broadway queens. So
Yeah, king, queen,
Yeah.
queen,
I'm
jack.
we're licking at
queen,
the
jack.
chops here. It's like
Yeah,
pretty
we
good
love
run
it.
out for it.
And you're just gonna like own him because you got the top kicker. But now it's like either
He goes fuck you.
yeah. So either he's owning you, which if he does, I mean, I would like to shake his hand.
No. As I was saying, tip the cap.
Yeah,
like,
you got
100%,
it, buddy.
like,
Yeah. And then so I just think it's a fold. It
Yeah.
sucks, but it's a fold. Now, like I said, if you had a different, description of your opponent, somebody that he's a GTO crusher, he knows that he can represent this hand and get me to fold a very strong queen that I've already bet twice, whatever. But that's not this guy.
Right.
So it's against this opponent, I think you got to lay it down.
Yeah. So I tanked, I think, as long as I've ever tanked live, to be honest. Like, and when I say that, I mean like probably 3 or 4 minutes.
That's
which
a
is
long
pretty
time.
That's long.
Yeah.
That's a long time. Did you throw any time extension chips?
I didn't. No, I tried to
He
slide
mucks his
it.
hand.
Yeah, I tried to slide it to
He
get
mucks
in the
his hand.
mouth.
Angle shooting ages.
Yeah. And I eventually folded, and I felt pretty good about it when I did it.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, you know what? I couldn't find the bluffs. I kept looking for them, and I'm just like, if there had been like
A missed flush draw.
yeah, if it had been a
something.
miss flush or
Something.
something,
Yeah.
but I just couldn't find it. And it's like the only draws are 5-6.
Yeah.
So he either has boats, 5-6, or I just got owned.
Well, yeah.
And I
maybe-
think getting owned is like a 10% of the time thing in this situation.
right. It's non-zero.
Yes.
Right,
for
and that's
sure.
important because even like the nittiest old guy knows that he's supposed to bluff.
He's got some
sometimes,
tricks
right?
up
He's
his
going to
sleeve,
do
yeah.
it, right?
Yeah.
And he knows that you know that he knows that you know he's a nitty old guy,
Right.
So they'll pull one out in the clutch once in a
How
while.
do you, let's talk about like the insta shove, like because we've talked about that a little bit. The insta shove on the river.
Usually a sign of weakness.
You would think, right?
Yeah, usually it is.
Like you missed, or like because we talked about it before, and we said like, well, what if he has jacks and he's just? I mean, guys will do that, like just be like, I'm all in, like,
Yeah,
I don't
make,
know what
which
to
makes
do
no
here.
sense
Right.
to do, but it usually means weakness, right?
Yeah, it does, and that's
But maybe he was predetermining, like with a full house, or like he literally got excited to see his straight, and like because I think
Yeah.
it goes both. It can be really polar. Like he made his straight, like I'm all in, like I'm all in.
Like a friend of ours kind of brought that up a little bit, and it reminded me of a hand that I also played in the Big 50 against a very similar villain, where he opened from like middle position, and I flatted. I can't remember if it was small blind or big blind with like ace 9 suited or something, and the flop came like ace 6 deuce or something,
yeah.
and the guy just ripped 2x pot, and I thought for the longest time, and I'm like, this can't be like ace king ace queen because why would he do this with those
Right.
hands? So I called and he turned over queens. So he did exactly what like our friend James like said these guys will do sometimes, which is just like fucking panic because they don't know what to do.
They don't know what
Yeah.
else to do.
But the
Yeah.
only thing different is this guy would have had to wait 2 streets to do it.
That's true. You had to call 2 bets and then do it. Yeah.
So it's definitely
Yeah.
unlikely, but yeah, non-zero. I think 10% is a pretty good number. So you should take your time here, because you take your time, you might come up with a hand and be like, "Oh my god, I remember when he did this before
Right.
and mucked his hand."
And there's also the possibility when you're tanking that he could give something away.
Yeah. Absolutely.
What are you thinking about? Maybe he might start to show strength or weakness
Right.
while you're trying to decide.
He just starts sweating profusely
Yeah.
on the table. You're like,
Yeah.
I called.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't want people that are listening to this to think that I advocate tanking to see if your opponent breaks, because I think that is like the worst thing for poker is if we all just start tanking to see if he finally gives it up.
If I wait long enough.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's both, right? You're tanking to think about it, but if he does give something off,
Right. That's
sweet.
another
Right.
benefit of tanking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, good for you making the right decision. I mean, I think if you got owned, you're supposed to get owned sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And if this was his
Shake
one,
your hand.
yeah.
See, and I told him after, I was like, offer money there. Be like, hey, $20.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some guys
Will
are like,
tell
you
me
give
your
them
hand?
$20. For me, that information, the 20, is so worth $20.
$20
Like,
to see your hands.
Some people will do it.
I had a guy offer me $200 once in a $3,500 WPT event. He offered me $200. He's like, $200 if you can show me a bluff, which I thought was really clever because if I had a bluff, it probably is the right decision for me to turn it over.
Mhm.
So then when I can't turn my cards over, he knows I wasn't bluffing.
That is smart.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. So that's one I'm going to
So,
use
yeah.
someday
So then
when I have an extra $200.
yeah, there you go. I ended up regretting not calling later because literally, I think it was 2 hands later, I was in the big blind with ace queen suited, and it folded to the button. He open ripped like 23 bigs, and I had like 24 bigs or whatever was left. And I had ace queen suited, and I called, and he just flips over aces. I'm like, whoa,
Oh,
we're shoving 25 bigs with aces.
Well, I'm
now?
going to. There's something you can regret.
No, I know,
Like,
but then I'm out of the tournament. I'm like, well, I guess I should have just called it off.
Well, so you
before.
made you made a good
No, I know.
decision.
I don't.
2 good
I don't
decisions.
literally regret my
Yeah.
decision. It's just like, well, I just guess I should.
I would have rather seen that guy's hand.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
that's
for
for
sure.
sure.
100%. Yeah. All right. I have a big 50 hand of my own.
Nice.
go.
And it's a similar opponent, actually. So this is my starting table. Really jovial, happy players. A lot of them recognize me from last year's main event where I was on TV a lot. So they were talking about comedy. We're having fun. It's
Nice.
a good vibe. The guy next to me has already slow played pre-flop pocket kings and pocket queens, where he just flatted those hands pre-flop and then showed them either when he didn't have to at the end. and then kind of made a point of telling everyone, I'm
if I'm in a pot,
I'm not going to risk my hand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's afraid. Like, he's telling us he's scared. He's
Right.
like, he told us this is my first WSOP event.
God.
I'm not going to just get all in with my queens against your ace king. I'm not here to flip coins.
Right.
He's like,
I want to make straights and sets.
Yeah, and then he's going to bet.
Yeah.
Right?
Clayton's like, I'm here to flip coins.
Yeah,
Let's go.
I'm like, I'll flip a coin right now for $1,000.
Yeah.
I don't care. I love being on his left, and I like the fact that I can, kind of leverage what he's told me against him.
Yeah.
He's basically told me, please bluff me at every opportunity,
Right.
right? And he has shown that even with like pretty good hands, he's playing pot control. He's not trying to go for value,
Right.
like ever. So
It's like such a beautiful description of a player.
Hey,
Like, because you kind of should know how to play. I mean, you know how to play against a guy like
we
this.
can beat this guy,
It's
especially in position.
So exploitable. It's awesome.
Yeah. So it goes fold, and then the player in second position. The blinds are 200 and 400 with the 400 ante. I've meanwhile run my stack up to like 140,000 already.
Let's go.
And it's only the first hour of this tournament. I don't know what's been going on.
They're like guy from the main event.
Well, what's been happening is like we're all having fun, but I'm also making like hand after hand and over betting like crazy because like
Which is a good strategy in a field like this.
yeah, they're not gonna fold.
Yeah.
Like,
Because they don't even really look
And they're so
that it's
deep
an
that
overbet.
they're like, well, I can lose this pot and still have 30K.
Yeah,
left,
they're so deep they feel like the
Yeah.
money doesn't matter yet. So, and they're more likely to like try to keep me honest and maybe go home and tell their wife, remember that comedian we saw on TV?
Right.
Yeah, I beat him. He tried to bluff me, that kind of thing. So I think about all that kind of stuff when I decide. Now, I mean, over bet. Like I bet like 2x pot on the river and stuff.
Yeah.
Like get action.
Yeah.
People are also very bad at counting pots in live poker.
That's
They'll just
true, too.
call.
So
They'll just
they
be
don't
called. Like
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
have
What am I going to do?
Yeah.
What am I going to do? I had a king. I can't
Any
fold.
amount the guy bets call.
Yeah. What do you expect me to do? Fold?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's up there.
Yeah, and that's their logic. So, the average stack is still in the 50,000 range or whatever. So, two to my right, I'm in fourth position under the gun +3. So the player in second position opens to 1K at 200, 400, and he's been like pretty solid, like kind of a reg. I'd say he's like a semi-pro reg, whatever. And then the player I already described, the older guy, is on my right, and he's going to keep this pot small, so he just calls. Now again, this could be aces, kings, or any number of hands.
Right.
And now I'm on his immediate left with pocket eights, and I think under the circumstances, there's no play other than calling, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I don't see doing anything else.
Especially having the guy in that has like nutty type hands, like making a set here. I mean, it's just in this tournament in general, like you want to have as many people in to flop a set with, like you said, you can 5x pot.
Right, and get money. But also, I feel like even if I don't make a set, I could probably outplay him a substantial
So
amount.
yeah,
because
we're not just set minded.
He's already told me that
Especially with a hand like eights.
he's already explained how bluffable he is.
Yeah.
So I intend to exploit that information for sure. So, and then the big blind, who's kind of a nondescript, average, like sunglasses, hoodie type guy, calls, getting ridiculous pot odds. So his call means very little. So four of us see the flop, and there's like 4,200 in the pot. Does that sound right? Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
It comes 10 of hearts, 8 of hearts, deuce of clubs, giving us middle set, the second nuts. There's a flush draw on board. Flush two hearts on the board. The original raiser bets 1,200 into the 46, and the player on my right, the guy I described earlier, raises to 3,500.
Wow.
This is the first raise on the flop this player has done in this tournament, and I've been here since the first hand.
So when he played aces and kings and stuff, did you see? Was there a bet, and then it was on a?
Yeah, he would call.
And he would just call.
Yeah, I mean that doesn't mean he's always going to do it that way. I don't want to read too much into it. It's only about
But
an
that would
hour's
be.
worth.
I would like that. That would
That's
be good
the
information.
we
You know,
have.
yeah.
So he raises to 3,500, and the action's on me with middle set.
So let's just rule out flush draws for this gentleman because he's not playing a flush draw like this.
I don't think so. Although I've played I've played with some people, particularly in this old cash game I used to play in. They love the nut flush draw.
Yeah, but would he raise it like the way he's
Probably
described
not.
him? Like
And those guys are more callers.
I wouldn't get. Wait, so what was the 10 of heart?
Yeah, 10 of hearts, 8
That's
of hearts.
important too, because
Yeah,
like
'cause
maybe
that-
if he had top pair, like if he had
like
ace 10
of
of
hearts. Yeah. So
Um,
rule that out. So we could probably.
Oh yeah, okay. I don't want to rule it out. I mean, like I'm wondering what he does with Jack 9 of hearts and the way Clayton described this guy. I kind of think he just calls with Jack 9 of
Yeah,
hearts.
open-ended straight
Yeah.
flush draw.
I think he's just same thing you said. Like I want to make my hand,
Yeah.
and then I'll bet.
All
Which
of
is
us are
really-
ready to get the whole 50K
which is-
in.
Right.
Which is why, like right now, hearing this hand and knowing we don't have the nuts, and this gentleman is raising, I'm kind of like fuck my life. Like
Yeah.
a little bit of me is like fuck, like the way you described him. But like I'm not gonna go overboard there. I'm just probably not gonna raise here. God, that feels so fucking nitty too. But the way you described this guy, I don't know. Like I want to protect against flush draws, but first off, I'll say about the first guy who bet 1,200 and a 46. That's a really, really weak bet
Yeah.
into like 1/4.
Yeah.
That could be a draw. And if we did just call, he's in too. But I'm fine with that. Clayton's super deep. Like,
Yeah.
we kind of got to be cautious with this guy. And the fact that we're in position is good too. We're going to read what he does next. Like, maybe he checks the turn and, like, did get out of line, like you said, if it breaks off. Yeah, interesting spot. I'm curious to know what you did because I think in a vacuum, like, if I had no read, I'm probably raising. I mean, I am raising.
Yeah, I mean, you got the second best
Yeah.
possible
Yeah.
hand at the moment.
Because I would give 8 out of 10 other guys a lot of flush draws. You know.
Yeah.
But this guy, as you described, I mean, but I think I can also.
And he doesn't
rule
have
out-
one pair.
I should say, I haven't seen him play a flush draw all day.
Yeah.
There hasn't been a showdown where he showed a flush draw
Right.
in a similar situation. So I don't know
Yeah,
how he
what
would
he would
play
do.
something like
But based
Queen
on
Jack of Hearts,
Yeah.
Jack 9 of Hearts, or the nut flush draw.
we can't rule it out. I'm with it.
Right.
I'm with it.
Yeah.
That's why we're not folding.
Right, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm raising here. I think I'm going to call.
How deep is he?
Yeah, he's got like 60.
He's got 60 and we have 140.
Yeah, we got everybody covered.
Okay, but it's
We've,
just
like-
unnecessary to play like. I mean,
Like, do we wanna
he has
pay
like 100 and he has 150 bigs.
150 bigs, is a lot
Right?
to get in
Yeah,
with
I mean,
middle
it
set.
would be a lot.
Well, I mean, I would be cool with it against most in this
Yeah,
tournament,
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
based on the
Especially
description,
on such a wet board.
and God, I hope people are gonna be like, "Wow, Mark is a freaking nit." This is just like player based right here.
Yeah.
Clayton painted a pretty solid picture on this guy where I'm somewhat worried.
I guess.
Right now.
Well, you know what we're not thinking about is what does this guy do with ace of kings, queens? Like those hands.
No,
are
we
all
did. I
nice.
asked that.
Yeah.
Well, no, I know, but because you were
He
saying
said he didn't raise
didn't
them.
raise them. That's
right, but
yeah.
you know,
There's different
but
situations.
to be
though.
fair, this flop is a lot more scary for one pair than those other flops.
Good
that he
point,
did.
yeah.
yeah, that's a
So
good
if
point.
he has pocket aces and the flop comes really dry, he just maybe flats. But in
Like-
this spot, he might feel
Yeah.
like he wants to
yeah,
protect.
he's got 2 black aces or something. He's like, I don't want to see a heart come out.
Yeah.
I'm not busting with aces.
See, it's funny. It's a tricky slope. It's a tricky slope here. It's like God, like does he? Because he can have. That's a really good point you bring up. He can have those aces, and he's probably going to raise bottom set too.
Right. So does he have
That's
deuces in his pre-flop calling range when the opener comes from second position?
I mean, this deep. I think all
Yeah.
like recreational players set mine this deep.
They do?
Yeah, I don't know. He should have deuces, but
Oh,
does
obviously.
he? Yeah, does he? Is a good question.
Yeah. I mean, Pio Solver has deuces.
Right.
Right.
Well, I wonder this. Here's something to think about. Based on this description you've given, I think it's Andrew who says raising to find out where you're at is never an excuse to raise or something along those lines. But I'm kind of wondering, like, he made it 38,
35.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you guys think about making it like 8,000? And we're gonna find out real soon if he's got.
But I
set
think
of
we have advantage here of being in position where, and we can still get it all. Like the pot's going to be big, so he's going to have like 50, maybe 55,000, and there's going to be. I mean, if you just called, there'd be like roughly 12 in there.
Yeah.
And the way Clayton's talking, like he can overbet at this table, like I think we won't have problems getting in it, and I think we'll find out a lot, like based on the turn and stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
If you raised here, I wouldn't be like, oh my god, that's fucking bad.
Yeah, what's
Like,
wrong with you raising?
No, I wouldn't.
second
It's
position?
just the description you're giving me, like
Yeah.
I'm like defaulting the call.
Okay. So I was terrified.
Good. Okay, that makes me.
I thought that when he makes it 35.
Did you say wow?
In my mind, I said wow. But I was gonna raise, of course, if he had just flatted. But since he raised, I didn't want to keep raising. I do think that I would get a lot of information that way, but I also think I could probably get the same information without spending the chips on it.
That's fair.
Yeah, and just play my
And being
position.
in position is really crucial.
Yeah, and there's
for that
nobody
too.
behind me other than the big blind, so nobody's going to have position on me, whether I raise or not. So I just decided to call, and my plan was to find out whether my opponent had tens or deuces. I thought there was a 50-50 chance my hand was good. I put him on two hands that would raise the flop. And maybe of course you always want to say there's a non-zero chance that he's bluffing, but I think it's pretty damn close to zero.
Yeah.
Especially with all these opponents.
The thing is the aces and stuff, like, because you mentioned the
Right.
wet board, like,
right.
that's in there too, obviously.
That's in there,
Yeah.
but I kind of discounted
I'm with
a
you,
little.
though. I'm thinking
Yeah.
tens and twos, just based on explanation.
Yeah, it occurred to me
Description.
that he might have just been wanting to protect his aces or kings with a raise because the board was so wet and there's so many draws available. But I think generally this player, he just wants to see if he's good and play very small pots all day long, whether he's winning them or losing them. He doesn't want big pots.
Yeah.
So now when a guy like that raises on me, I don't even love having the second nuts. So, but like Mark said, we're not folding, right?
Right.
So, and Andrew says calling is not a compromise, but I didn't view it as a compromise. I just think it's the best play right here. So I called, and everybody else folds, which is all good news because now I'm heads up in position against this player that I have a sense of.
You almost want a heart to come, so like the action can slow
down a little bit.
Yeah.
Or I mean, I don't know. I'm really curious to see what happens.
Yeah,
there.
well, if that's what you want, you're going to be really happy because it wasn't just a heart. It was the 9 of hearts. So our board is now 10 of hearts, 8 of hearts, deuce of clubs, 9 of hearts. So there's a 3 to a straight flush on the board. And my opponent looks unhappy. And I don't think he's acting. So, obviously, as I've mentioned so many times on the show, a huge part of my game is reactions and like reading people's energy and body language and stuff. I thought he did not like that heart at all.
And we weren't putting him on raising hearts like ever.
Right.
So yeah, he should hate that heart.
Yeah, we didn't.
Which is interesting. Which is pretty cool.
Yeah. So now he checks.
So I know what I want to do now.
Okay, so there's about 12-ish in there, 12,000. Yeah, why don't you go first on this one, Derek? Unless you want to defer.
No.
Well,
Derek
yeah.
goes
So
first.
I think I know what Mark's going to say. My first instinct was to bet because if our opponent looks that scared, let's get it. If it's a better hand, let's get him off, right?
Well, if he has a better hand, what does he have?
Well, so this was going to be my point. If he has tens,
Right.
even though he's unhappy with that hand, I'm not sure that he's going to fold it to a single bet. So I think if we're going to bet here, we got to be willing to bomb river.
Perfect.
Like, you can't just bet and hope that he
Yeah,
folds here.
I
Because I don't
agree.
think it's going to happen.
I agree with you. Of course not, because he can still make a better hand than a flush too.
So then,
I agree.
So if you're willing to go bet, in fact probably bet bomb, then I say bet here. But if you're trying to get it one and done, then I'd probably check and just hope to do another 8.
Well, so we want to win the hand. This is a cool spot because we're actually merging here. We're like value betting half the time,
Right.
and we're bluffing half the
Yeah.
time. I'm gonna bet, and like if the board doesn't pair on river, I'm like kind of turning 8s into a bluff / value betting versus bottom set. I think, and I agree with you. I like your description of what we should like betting twice. If we're 50-50, like, and we can get value in a better hand to fold, like this is like a perfect spot to go bet.
Ultimate bet
It just sucks when you value on yourself on the river, but like the fact that he looks really, really unhappy, like I may just stick with like betting the turn, and if the board doesn't pair, like maybe even big too, and like if the board doesn't pair on river, like bombing it.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm not really sure what I'm doing. I guess I'm bluffing at that point for sure.
So the question is,
I don't know if
are we bombing every river? Are we bombing a heart?
Yeah,
And are we bombing when the board
yeah, I would
goes?
bomb a heart because I mean,
Well, he can make a flush if he has
if he has like aces or something.
if he has a bottom set.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
he wouldn't call.
Right.
So we do have a heart or don't? Was the 8 a heart on the board?
Right. The 10 and 8 of hearts.
10
are
and 8
both
of
on the
hearts.
board.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's
straight
why I
flush,
know.
straight flush.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm betting here.
Okay. I definitely considered all my options here. Bet medium, bet huge, check. And I decided that because my opponent, I thought that his most likely hand was a set because there's a 50-50 chance my hand was good, but there's a 0 chance that he's going to fold to my turn bet. And then I'm going to have to put in another big bet on the river and just hope that he can't find a call. Here's the thing about amateur players who are scared. They're not over folding because this is what they do. Like they get in there and they slow play big hands, but they don't fold them either.
Right.
He wants to keep the pot small and try to see if he wins.
Yeah, I guess.
I'm not saying it's never going to work.
Yeah.
The bet strategy is definitely going to work a lot.
I guess the way you described him to me, it feels like he would fold to like bet and big bet.
And
on
he
river.
probably will. He probably will, but I think it's
I agree with you though. A lot of people just won't fold their
they
set.
won't. Yeah,
they
it's
just won't.
because he gets to like show everybody.
Yeah.
Look, I flopped the nuts.
Yeah,
look how I lost. You know, so there's some of that equity in there too, like for him.
But so like
The
if he
sympathy
folds,
equity.
if he folds like X amount and then we're ahead X amount, I think the play becomes pretty profitable to go bet.
I'm certain it's profitable,
Yeah.
especially when you consider that you're sometimes getting called by worse and sometimes getting better to
we're merged.
fold.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
It's a cool
it's
spot.
like you're
really
merging.
fucking cool spot.
You flop the second nuts and then merge on the turn. So that's you don't hear that every day.
Crazy.
Yeah,
It's
so
such a weird hand.
I really thought about taking that line, just like bet kind of big on the turn and then like over betting the river, But I've shown so many over bets on the river that were winners that I think that would actually work in my favor here if I picked one to bluff with. I mean, my original strategy for this table was to overbet big hands and be very exploitable and never overbet bluffs. And so this would be the spot to actually change that strategy because of the dynamics of this situation, which is why this hand was one that I haven't stopped thinking about since it happened. Because how many times do you merge a hand?
Dude,
this
I've
strong?
never seen a hand like this in my life.
It's like
or
it's
heard a
so
hand in this
crazy.
life.
It's
It is
just
crazy.
a sick hand.
Like my mind was just like ticking in different directions.
It's weird.
I was like, holy shit!
Yeah,
like, this
yeah.
is cool.
It's a perfect card. The 9 of hearts is a perfect card to make the hand interesting. But it wasn't a perfect in the sense that it helped me decide what to do. So I checked because I just thought, I've already tripled my stack. Why do I need to try to bluff a guy off top set on the flop? Right. There are certain runouts where it would definitely work. There are some runouts where it would probably work. There are very few runouts where it won't work. And so it's clearly a profitable play. But to me, the criteria is more, I'm at such a good table. Why do I want to risk
that's another important factor. Is like, why, like Sklansky talks about that, why take a spot that works, let's say it works like 70% of the time when maybe it doesn't, that's too high, but whatever, where you're going to get something later on that's 100%.
More, it's a really comfortable table. Why do I want to?
And the only way you can use that is when you have a lot of chips,
Right.
where you'll get in these spots,
Right.
which you do.
Yeah, I have.
So
I'm one of the chip leaders.
It's
in the
not.
tournament.
It's not horrible to take a. I don't even know if it's. I mean, it's a little bit tighter, but it's not horrible to do this.
Yeah.
Especially when we're not 100% sure it's going to work.
Right. And also, you're not always getting action from worse. Like, part of your merge is that sometimes you're going to let the deuces off the hook.
Yeah.
Right? So, but that's not the end of the world because you probably can't get any more value from them anyway. So if you're winning, it's hard to get value, I think.
You'll get it on the turn, I'd imagine, versus this guy. But yeah, you're not always going to get river.
Yeah. And he might even find a fold on the turn because he did hate that 9 of hearts very, very much. So I checked, and the river comes the 6 of clubs. So the final board is 10-8 deuce with 2 hearts, and then 9 of hearts.
And 6.
And then a 6, offsuit 6. So
he's got no 7s.
Right.
Like 7 would be a straight.
Yeah, a 7 for a straight.
And he's got
but
0
yeah,
7s.
I'm not really concerned about the 7.
Ace
So-
7 of hearts.
Yeah, maybe.
And we pretty much discounted that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
so.
I don't think he's got those hands.
Yeah.
So he checks. And now the question becomes, now that we haven't done the bet strategy, do we fire here?
I think I value bet here.
Well, I mean, he can still have his beat, so I'm going to it. So even though, like, let's not even talk about the fact, like, what's the straight here is a 9. You said
7.
A 7.
Yeah.
Let's not even think about how many he doesn't have one.
Yeah.
But let's not even think about how many 7s he thinks we have, because we can have 7.
We can have one.
I think just the way you described this player, he's going to be worried about that now, and the flush draw, and the flush. Excuse me. It's hard. Do you think he knows you don't have a flush when you check back on the turn?
Not necessarily.
Okay, that's cool.
No, he strikes me as the type to always worry about everything.
Yeah, so I want to bet here, like, with intention of maybe I get called by deuces. Like, probably not. Like, I think he's going to fold here if we bet. And I'm good with that when we're 50-50 here. When I think we can bet, and it's, I don't want to say it's 100%, but I think if we bet the right amount, God, how much is in the pot?
What did we say?
3,500. It was like 12,000.
Yeah, like 12K in the pot.
And he has 60, and we would have to bet big.
Yeah. Because
I have to be really
sure,
sure
that's
it
the point that
works.
Derek made earlier. People feel so deep that they find calls because they can keep you honest. And I know a lot of the comments we've made as we talk through this hand have been contradictory, right? Like, is he going to be the type to always be able to find the call, or is he scared of everything? He's going to fold everything. Well, that's the problem with this type of player. Is like when you play pot control with every single hand, you just, if that's your playing style, by nature you have to call with your bigger hands. Is this hand big enough for him to call if he's got deuces? I don't know. Is it big enough for him to call if he has 10s? I don't know. Does he have any other hands at all?
In his mind, 10s is like much better than deuces.
Right.
Like, which it shouldn't really be.
Really doesn't
in this
matter.
situation, it kind of does because we have 8s.
Because we have the middle set.
Yeah.
Right?
This might sound like a weird question, but how much is it worth to us to find out what he has? Because if we really want to know, we can check and see.
That's a good question. I mean,
he's
obviously,
got to show first.
Yeah,
right?
if I check, he has to turn over his cards.
I just want to win. I'm just thinking about winning the hand.
Yeah,
You
I mean
know
that's
what I
going to be my
mean?
default.
I
It's going to be winning
like,
chips.
But it's
like
worth something.
No,
it is worth
information.
something.
Like, why would I offer money to see you guys in? You know what I mean? Like, I'm just not here. Like, I know the turn I'm betting, so it's tough for me to put myself here.
Right.
Because, and like, I'm just thinking about it, I'm like, God, like, we bet the turn and we get like whatever, it's deuces or 10s, and now we get gin now, where he's probably bluffing here if we go bet because like the 6 is a pretty bad card for a set. Right. Whatever, not to be Risotto, it just would have worked out even better.
So you mean
planned.
he would have folded that card
more likely on the
because
river
it's one
for
more
sure,
thing to worry
for
about.
sure.
Yeah.
So it would have worked out perfectly.
Yeah.
So I'm like torn of what I do here because now that I think about it, he started the hand with 60K. He's invested 5. And if we bet 10, like, he looks down at his stack, he's
what
like,
the
well,
hell?
I have 40K. Yeah, I'm going to call.
I got 100 big lines. So
I think they call a lot in that spot because he doesn't like it, but that doesn't mean he wants to fold it.
So you know what you do? This is sick. All in.
Just go all in.
I mean, he's not calling you.
Yeah.
He's not.
And he has no flushes, no straights.
Not. And you're going from a 50-50 to like 100%. Like, I think all three of us could probably say if we went all in, he's not calling.
Right.
I literally think it's 0%.
Yeah. I guess the question is, how much of the time do we want him to call, and how much of the time do we want him to fold?
Right.
Well, I guess it's 50-50. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm kind of with Clayton where I was thinking it was literally, and it's so weird to like be like, oh, he has bottom or top set, like, which could be totally wrong. I mean, maybe that's just what I'm thinking here. The bottom line is we're beat some of the time here for sure. And if we don't think he's ever going to call, I mean, I'm not advocating fucking 5x spotting rivers. It just kind of goes with what you've been doing.
It's going to look bluffy.
It's actually more like, it's about 5 times the pot. Yeah,
and I just don't think he calls ever. And if you tell me someone's never calling, and like value betting here is like, I don't know, like we're literally targeting deuces, like when we're value betting here. Right. That's like, which is okay.
But we kind of think that's about half his range.
Yeah.
Which is so crazy.
I mean,
of course there are
I don't
surprises.
want to advocate shoving as played, but I kind of like it a lot.
Of course there could be some surprises, right? Like
just over Jack Queen of Hearts.
Yeah, you might be shocked like, oh, Ace King of Hearts or whatever.
Yeah, or he could even have like Queen Jack offsuit, right? But like, it would be very strange for a player like this to raise the flop with Queen Jack offsuit, right? But I'm just saying, like, we have to remember, like, even the tightest, most predictable, most ABC player will do some stuff once in a while.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Right? And then he makes his straight, but he made it with the flush card, so he doesn't want to bet anymore.
Yeah.
But he's definitely not folding that, right? So I'm not saying that's a big part of his range or whatever, but we got to remember, like, even the worst players can come up with some
and
kind
we
of
don't
read.
have information where I think any of us could be like, he only has tens or deuces. Like,
Right.
we just don't have that. That's not a law.
Right.
So what about this? So if we think he has tens or deuces, let's just say he has one of those two hands. Like, just pretend we magically know that it's one of those two, but we don't know which one. And what we say is like 15K in the pot.
12.
Why not bet like 4,000?
Why not go all in and win the pot?
Well,
Right.
yeah.
Would you rather be 100% than 50%?
Yeah. No, I mean, you're right.
Yeah.
I think, right?
You're right.
But
I know it's
but
risk.
then we
risk
make worse
reward.
hands fold, right? So I'm saying if we bet 4, we get called by deuces.
No, I just no.
And get value, and we get called by tens, and we lose.
You have to
less.
win the pot. You have to win the pot.
Right.
I mean, the problem is I'm giving it a non-zero chance that he calls.
Right. But, you know,
but I really feel there is. I mean, I'm not giving him. I really don't feel there's a chance he calls here based on how it's played.
Derek's right. So the math goes like this. If he bets like you say, like 3,000 or 4,000, right? Of course, I think we're going to get action from either of the other two sets on the flop. So sometimes you win an extra 3,000 or 4,000 that way. In Mark's plan, we never win an extra 3,000 or 4,000, but we also don't lose when the tens look us up.
Right.
So I think Mark's play is more profitable, but I mean, we could put it.
And
in
there's
a calculator.
situations where I really like your play. My play would have to be like pretty close to like it'd have to work like almost 100% of the time.
It does.
I mean, I think it does too.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever done what I'm talking about doing.
No.
And I don't think I would have come up with a solution in game.
No.
I mean, whatever the way I said, I think I bet turn and bet river. But if I did check back, I'm not sure. I'm just like, like I'm just gonna shove the river and get the like. I don't know if I do that.
Right. But maybe you will now that we had this conversation.
No, this is a really fun.
Yeah.
It's gonna be fun when you show 5x and he's like straight flush.
Yeah, but he couldn't help.
My first live straight
Right.
flush, guys.
And that's why he didn't want to bet it, because he was like hoping that the aggressive guy would.
Yeah.
But the look you described of like
Yeah, I don't give him a lot of those cards. to
no,
make
like
it
where he's like
He
just
didn't
heartbroken
look
on that
at-
turn, and you said it,
Right.
and I could see that when you said it, it really felt like you were like, okay, he doesn't have a flush.
Right.
And I trust my reads, and sometimes they are wrong. But
And
if
you've
this,
had two final. So in order to go deep in the main event, twice, you have to have pretty good. You have to have really good reads.
yeah, but if this guy, if he's a good enough actor, right, that I can be like studying him as I've studied hundreds of thousands of other players, maybe millions, and he fools me, it's like, okay, here's my chips.
Mm-hmm.
Like
I'd be okay with that too.
Yeah, I mean,
And in the
I
500,
really
it's
would.
kind of an okay place to do it.
yeah, that's fine.
You don't want to put in 5x pop probably in the main event.
right.
Although if
exactly.
it's the right play,
if it's the
right
right,
play.
yeah.
the
But-
buy-in doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So
But the opponent's different probably in this.
Of course, situations.
Yeah.
I didn't
This
think
is a very rare spot where
I'm
I'm
tell-
doing what I said.
I will say this.
but it
Let me
does.
just be
It's
clear.
a very good play. I think it's a good play for this exact situation.
I will say that in game, I'm almost certain I would just like value bet like half pot or something, like because I'm sadly like I default to certain plays
Right.
in my game. I'm pretty sure that's what I would do. But the more we've talked about it, like I can definitely see why we don't want to do that. Like I think bombing is probably better because we're just gonna get him. What we talked about,
It's
right?
a
He's
really
gonna fold better.
this is such a rare spot. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, and I haven't been in many
I'm
similar
not sure I've
spots.
heard.
to
I've
that.
probably played maybe 2 million hands in my life, and I don't think I've ever heard a hand like this.
Yeah. Well, especially because
And it's the first tournament I played this summer, by the way.
Well, it's also so rare that you get this good of a description of an opponent. Like, we play a lot
Yeah.
online,
Yeah.
or even live. It's like, oh, it was just some guy who had played like a few hands.
He
or
had a
whatever,
golf
but-
hat, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
because it doesn't tell you anything.
Yeah. Because people doing such a specific thing, like limping aces, kings, queens, and whatnot,
Yeah.
and pot controlling and all these things you talked about. Somebody doing that exact thing and then having this kind of a hand happen is such a rare combo.
Yeah,
You know?
and it really affected the way I played the hand. Like
Yeah.
given
Absolutely,
a
You
lack
play
of
hands
reads
so
yeah.
differently
I would-
versus others.
I would never play this hand this
Yeah.
way. I would be so happy with my. I was scared on the flop.
Yeah.
I flopped the second nuts, and I was scared that I was
On a
beat.
2-heart board,
Yeah,
4-way.
yeah,
We
yeah.
should be jumping up and
Yeah,
down.
we
but
should be like, let's get all the value from all the flush draws.
Oh.
No,
No.
I actually checked the river too.
which I mean,
And I was like, I didn't feel like value betting made sense because half the time I'm just going to lose more chips, and chips that I win are worth less than chips that I keep, and all that kind of theoretical
I
stuff.
loved your when you were talking about like the slants. I think that's just so awesome. Like I can beat this table without doing anything.
I don't
here.
need
like
to.
I don't care.
Yeah.
And that's why maybe even over shoving for that 10K is kind of like, say there's a 1% chance he calls. Like, is it even worth it when I can get chips other ways?
Right.
Who knows?
Yeah, if it's 1%, it's still worth it. But
I know what I mean,
if you're approaching like 5%, then you really do have like it's getting closer to a negative play.
And dude, for
there's
you to
no
be
reason to do it. Yeah. So
I'm telling you, if I felt 100%, I would do it, even though it's not 100. But you know what I mean. But okay.
No, that's the
I don't.
that's the instinct.
Yeah.
So I checked. He had 10s, and he made a comment later. It was like, "Well, I didn't like that 9." I said, "I know, I didn't like it either, but I didn't show it in my hand, you know."
Right. Did
like,
you tell him you had 8s?
No.
Like I didn't know if at some point later.
Yeah, no, it never came up.
Yeah.
But he's like, I sure like the flop, but I sure didn't like the turn.
You're just sitting there like, God damn it, I fucking knew it.
I was like,
the flop.
I was like, I kind of could have bluffed this guy on the turn, but
so weird to like think that all of a sudden we have to turn the second nuts into a bluff.
I know.
But it's like, you know, the way you describe the guy, and it seems like after the hand you were kind of like, fuck, I should have won the spot.
Yeah, well,
or was it more after the fact? You're like, all right, could have won the spot.
No, I mean, at the time, because I didn't really consider bluffing the turn.
So crazy.
You know, because I just thought my hand is too strong to turn into a bluff. But really, if you think about how strong my read was on the flop, where he's really got almost all of his range, if not all of his range, is 10s and deuces. So then why not bluff the heart if he doesn't have a flush ever?
Yeah.
You know, it's just
easier said sitting here talking about him for 35 minutes than being there at the table with like a minute. You know?
Yeah, you're like sitting there.
It shows how important live reads are because, like you were saying and we were saying, against any other opponent, like we just go broke. We don't go broke.
No,
I
get 150 bigs in every time. Yeah, but
especially in this tournament. Like,
I mean, these guys were spazzing out with all kinds of hands, but he was like one of the guys at my table that had really provided me with a lot of evidence that his strategy was a pot control strategy. And, you know, of all the years I spent playing live poker, like I've just learned, like when somebody tells you who they are and shows you who they are multiple times in the first hour, you know,
they're either really good at deceiving you or that's who they are.
Yeah. So
very rarely does a guy show hands and he isn't that guy that shows the night.
And then all of a sudden he changes gears.
Like
and the great players change gears.
Yeah.
But they also don't say stuff like, this is my first tournament, I'm going to keep the pot small. And
I'm going to do this.
Well,
remember, it's my first tournament.
Remember we talked about we talked about going to the Big 50 and just being like, my first tournament, never played live before.
Going overalls and like a straw hat, like
a MAGA hat.
You'll get beat up.
So definitely an unusual tournament, to say the least. God, this was so much fun, you guys. Like,
doing it in person is a blast.
I'm never going to want to go back to Skype.
I know. And you have a plethora of pros around Vegas right now at your disposal. So.
Yeah, no. I've said it before, I said it again. There is nothing in the world like the World Series of Poker. I will never miss this. If I'm ever not here, I'm dead.
Adult summer camp.
I'll never miss it. And I'm so excited. It's only the first week. A lot of interesting things have happened already. I'm excited to play my day 2 tomorrow.
Yeah, good luck, man.
Fully prepared to bubble it. And I say that without I say that with only a little bit of humor, because really I was telling Derek before we started recording, I probably bubble more than anybody because I go so crazy when I notice that my opponents are worried about making it into money. Like I'll do like spastic, crazy things that usually work, but when they don't, I bubble. And we all know that we should, but do we really?
Right.
Do we do it? You know,
I'm guilty of
I jump out of the plane. Like I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, I'll find out later if I have a parachute or not. Yeah, but this was a good time, and so thanks for hanging out, guys.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, we're at the Clayton. TPE house. There's a nice little swimming pool in the background.
I love that the pool guys came halfway in the middle of the episode. If you guys hear the noise in the background, we're sorry.
That's okay.
We had to enjoy the nice Vegas night.
Yeah, it helps you enjoy the ambiance that we're experiencing here.
Yeah.
So thanks again, Derek and Mark. You guys, please tweet us. Let us know what you think. I'm Clayton Comic. He's Killingbird.
Yep. If you search Killingbird, you'll find me.
Yeah. And
Mark Alioto.
There you go. So for everybody here at Tournament Poker Edge, I'm Clayton Fletcher. Thank you so much for listening.
in Texas, please. Fold 'em, let 'em hit me, raise it, baby, stay with me. Luck and intuition, play the cards with babes to start. And after she's been hooked, I'll play the one that's on her heart. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. I'll get her heart, show her what I got. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. I'll get her heart, show her what I got. Carry mine, though she can't read a mile. Poker face, she's got to love nobody. Carry mine, though she can't read a mile. Poker face, she's got to love nobody. Poker face, poker face. Poker face, poker face. I wanna roll with her, a hard pair we will be. While little gambling is fun when you're with me. I love it. Russian roulette is not the same without a gun. And baby, when it's love, it's not rough, it isn't fun. Oh, whoa.